Imagine waking up in 2026, checking your phone, and seeing money hit your account while you were asleep. No boss. No clocking in. No, I'll finally relax when I retire, just income showing up. Now here's the part most people won't tell you. You don't need a huge bank balance to start building rental income anymore. In fact, some of the smartest investors right now are starting with almost nothing, and today I'm going to show you exactly how. Not theory, not motivation. Real strategies you can actually use, even if your bank account is sitting at zero. Let's get into it. First, we need to kill a myth. Most people think rental income means buying a house. Deposit, mortgage, maintenance, tenants, headaches. That's the old model in 2026. Rental income is about control, not ownership. You don't need to own the property, you just need to control the deal. And once you understand that, everything changes. Let's start with the simplest strategy. Rental arbitrage. This is where you rent a property and then rent it out again for a higher price. Sounds crazy at first, right? But think about it. A landlord rents you an apartment for $1,200 a month. You furnish it, listed on short-term rental platforms, and suddenly it's making $2,500 a month after expenses. You keep the difference. You don't own the property. You didn't need a deposit for a mortgage. You just needed a deal that works. And here's the key. Landlords care about consistency. If you can show them that you'll pay rent on time, keep the property clean, and treat it like a business, many of them will say yes. Especially in cities where vacancies hurt them more than anything. Now, let's take it one level deeper. What if you don't even have money for furniture? This is where people quit. But this is also where the opportunity is, because instead of using your money, you use partnerships. You find someone who has money, but doesn't have time. You bring the deal, they bring the capital. You split the profit. Simple. You're not the investor. You're the operator, and operators get paid. But here's something most beginners miss. Rental income is not about properties, it's about demand. Where are people already paying for short-term stays? Busy cities, near hospitals, close to business districts, tourist areas, events. If you follow demand, you don't have to guess, you just plug into what's already working. Now let me give you a realistic breakdown. Let's say you find a one-bedroom apartment, rent $1,300 a month. You negotiate a deal with the landlord. Maybe a 12-month lease. You spend about $2,000 setting it up. Or your partner does. Now you list it. Average monthly revenue, $2,800. Expenses: rent, $1,300. Cleaning plus utilities, $400. Platform fees, $200. Your dollars left with around $900 profit. That's from one unit. Now imagine doing that 5 times, 10 times. This is how people quietly build $5K, $10K, even $20K a month in rental income without owning a single property. But let's be real for a second. This isn't easy money. It's simple, but not easy. You'll have to message landlords. Some will say no. You'll deal with guests. You'll fix problems. But compare that to working 40 years at a job you don't control. It's a different kind of hard. Now here's the shift that separates people who make it from people who just watch videos. Most people consume, very few execute. So instead of asking, can this work, ask yourself, how fast can I try this? Because the first deal is always the hardest. After that, it becomes a system. And this is where things get really interesting, because co-hosting is how you enter the rental game. Without paying for rent, furniture, or even taking on risk here. That's how it works. There are thousands of property owners right now listing their homes on short-term rental platforms and struggling. Bad photos, slow responses, poor pricing. Their properties sit empty or underperform. That's where you step in. You don't rent the property, you don't own it, you simply offer to manage it better than they can. You handle the listing, the pricing, the guest communication, the cleaning, coordination, and in return you take a percentage, usually 10% to 30% of the monthly revenue. Let's break that down. A property making $3,000 a month at just 20%, that's $600 from one property. No rent, no upfront investment. Now imagine managing 5 properties, 10. This is how people build cash flow first, before they ever take on bigger deals. And here's the best part. This builds something more valuable than money. It builds experience. Because once you understand pricing, guest behavior, and occupancy, you're no longer guessing, you're operating with data. So when you do move into rental arbitrage or partnerships, you already know what works. Now let's talk about scaling. Because this is where most people get stuck. They make their first $500, maybe $1,000, And then everything slows down. Why? Because they're still thinking small. If you want real rental income, you need systems, not hustle. Start with automation messaging, automated pricing, dynamic pricing tools, cleaning. But with cleaners, photographers, maintenance people, these are the people who keep your business running. And when you treat it like a real business, you start getting access to better opportunities. Landlords start reaching out to you, not the other way around. Now let's address something important. The legal side, because yes, rules matter. Different cities have different regulations around short-term rentals. Some require permits, some have restrictions. Ignore this. And you can lose everything overnight, so always check local laws, always get agreements in writing. And if you're unsure, talk to a professional. This is a business, treat it like one. Now let's zoom out for a second. Because what you're really building here isn't just rental income, it's a cash flow machine, one that doesn't rely on a single paycheck, one that grows as you grow, and one that can eventually fund bigger investments. Maybe you do buy property later. Maybe you expand into different cities. Maybe you turn this into a full company. But it all starts here with one deal, one conversation, one step. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know if I can do this, understand something: nobody starts ready. The people making money in this space right now, they figured it out by doing, not by waiting. So here's what I want you to do. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take one action today. Reach out to one landlord. Analyze one property, message one host. About co-hosting, that's it, because momentum doesn't come from thinking, it comes from movement. If you made it this far, you're already ahead of most people, so don't let this just be another video you watch. Turn it into something real. And if you want more breakdowns like this, simple, real-world ways to build income without needing a ton of money, subscribe and stick around, because this is just the beginning.